Skateboarding down New York.
What's up? What's up? It's your boy Cam Meekins. This is the Cam Meekins Show. I'm in here with a very special guest. My guy Chucky Anthony in the building. He told me this beat sounds like my old 2017 vlog days, and it's funny because I made this beat back in those days. But Chucky, what's going on, man?
What's poppin'?
How you living, bro?
Great. Everything's great. I haven't been home. I've been like traveling back and forth, and there's just a lot of traveling.
Yeah, I feel you. Do you even consider like a certain place a home base? I feel like you're a guy who's on the road a lot.
The past couple of years, no. And like during the summer, it's like LA training and stuff like that. But then you go to Minnesota and then back to the Bay for a little bit and then back to LA. So,
I hear you, man. So for those that don't know, Chucky, amazing videographer, entrepreneur, guy that wears many hats in this game. Also an incredible athlete, which is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on today. Just talk about, what's going on in your life sports-wise and training-wise and shit. But you've been boxing a lot, huh?
I've been boxing. So with boxing, it's just I've always been a fan of boxing, a big fan. Like even since when I was little, because I was born in the Philippines, and it's either boxing or basketball. That's super big in the Philippines.
That's what's popular over there?
Yeah, super big. Basketball is way bigger, but boxing is obviously because of Manny Pacquiao and how much he affects the whole boxing world. And it's like a big prideful thing in the Philippines, but boxing and basketball. And obviously I'm too short for basketball. I like to play basketball.
You be balling though.
I can ball, but obviously, I know the levels of basketball. You know the levels too.
Yeah,
know, you've seen the different levels when you're just playing at LA Fitness or with professional athletes. You play with them. So, but yeah, boxing was always the thing in the back of my mind. But I never really, once I moved to America, it was either I played soccer and then baseball, and then I was really good at baseball like at a late age. Because a lot of the people that played baseball, a lot of my friends, they started when they were three or four, and I didn't get to America until like later than that. And when I played, I was only like 9 years old. I was turning 9, and I was super late for someone starting baseball. But I was like,
and you had never known really anything about baseball before that?
No, not at all. It was more for just because I was like chubby. Like I got like chubby when I moved to America. And like my dad was like, you need to play some sports. So he did soccer. I sucked at soccer. I was just not fast at that time. Well, probably because I just never played. And then baseball. So baseball is less physical. It's more skill. And then like I just had the skill like pretty quickly. So yeah, that's when I went. But back in my head, I always wanted to box. And just recently, like, I've trained before, but just recently, you know how the boxing thing is now. It's super big now, and it's more accessible and it's more popular, and me as a content creator, I'm like, I've been boxing and like training and stuff. I'm gonna put it out there, like, so.
Well, it's this really cool thing happening with boxing right now, where it's kind of merging with the content creators of the world, and obviously, the Jake Paul fight and all that shit. Like, but it's putting it on this new pedestal where. Yeah. Young people who probably never would have cared about the sport are into it. So I mean, I imagine overall that's a good thing for the sport, right?
What do you think about it? Like,
well, I was always someone who was like, oh, okay, like Floyd's got this fight, like I'm gonna tune in, or Manny Pacquiao's fighting, like I'm gonna watch. Like the big fights, I'm down to like lock in and watch. I wasn't necessarily super following the sport, but I was interested in it when it was a fight that got a lot of popular attention. Right. And I think that's a lot of people's experience with boxing, I would guess. And so when this shit started to happen over the last couple of years, at first I was like, oh, okay, like this is entertaining. Mm-hmm. But now even more so, I'm like, okay, I kind of respect what's going on because, one, I think, Jake Paul is continuing to prove himself more so than I think people gave him credit for. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I know that he's continuing to fight non-boxers so far, but they are getting progressively harder.
So when did you realize like this was a thing, the YouTube boxing thing? What was your first what was the first boxing match you saw? Like, you were like...
The YouTube boxing match?
Yeah.
Well, I think we watched it together.
Yep.
In LA, which was the first one that they did. I think Logan Paul KSI or whatever.
Yeah, so, right, I remember that. We like...
Because it was originally really pushed as like Logan's thing.
That's
and
right.
Jake was the undercard.
Well, people don't realize it all started with KSI, the YouTuber. He was the one that actually start doing all that with another UK boxer or YouTuber boxer, and they both did their thing. I think it was like Joe Weller or something like that. Joe Weller, and then KSI did that, and he started calling out Jake Paul, Logan Paul, and then that was a big thing. And obviously, you know, I think those
so it
guys,
wasn't even really their idea. Their concept?
It wasn't their idea, but they definitely probably brought it to a whole new level,
right?
Because of their name, and also, I think at that time, there was something going on with Logan Paul. Or he had like that whole thing with Japan or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's actually how I found out about him.
Right.
I didn't really know much about him either, like before that, but that was such a big thing. When I was living in LA, that was like a big, huge thing.
Yeah, people were
trying to cancel him.
Yeah.
I think he was like one of the first people getting canceled.
That's true. That did kind of start this wave of like cancel culture.
Because I think the boxing thing was his trying to come back to something new. I think he lost his purpose with YouTube and then did the boxing thing, and that became a thing. So that's why it became such a like Logan Paul is boxing now, like so.
Well, it's a smart move because I feel like anyone getting in a ring and willing to fight like that, it does command a level of respect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I would do that. You know, like, so when they did start to do that and they were actually fighting, I think overall people are like, okay. And then some people are like, I want to see them get knocked out. But then if they win or whatever, you know.
I was actually a fan just because, one, I didn't know much about KSI. I thought it was just one of those, you know, those troll, like, I feel like YouTube had like especially the big creators, there was such a big, like, oh, they're troll, they like to troll because they want views, kind of rep. So I kind of thought KSI was a troller too, and Logan was obviously a troller at that time. So I was like, oh, we're watching trolls just box each other. But then I started kind of seeing like they were training and like their past like competitive stuff. Like KSI did pretty well before that. I was like, oh shoot, this could be like a cool little thing. And also Logan's a big dude. I was actually for him for winning, like beating KSI, and then. You know, sometimes you just know when someone has it and then someone doesn't. Like, with me with baseball, like, when someone throws a baseball, I could tell, like, all right, he needs a lot of work or that person's got it. I feel like when Logan started boxing that first second, I was like, oh, I don't know. He might not have it.
Yeah, what's the difference between, like, Logan and Jake? Because Jake seems like he does have it.
Yeah, Jake definitely, like I said, even the first fight, you could see Jake was, obviously just starting out and obviously nervous, and also Logan, but you could see the difference, just footwork, tendencies, how quick the punches come out. You could see, especially if you're someone that's a fan of the sport, not even if you're a boxer, just a fan, just you see so much boxing, you could see right away, like, oh, if this person trained, like, he'll be sharp.
Well, and also Jake's build is a little bit more kind of, it like lends itself a little bit more to being better at boxing, right? Because like Logan is like so big, that it's like he's like too tight. You know what I'm saying?
You don't need much. You don't need. I mean, it looks good, but you don't need muscles to be a boxer.
Right. And Jake's got that longer reach. It seems like
he looks more compact, probably stronger. But I wouldn't say he's stronger, but he looks more compact, especially for boxing, and also just skill wise. You could right off the bat. I mean, they probably started, or maybe Logan probably started before him. And just the skill is just so different.
Well, I think that's what's, definitely interesting about the two of them is like their ability to take advantage of an opportunity, right? Yeah. Like, obviously this was probably thought of at the time as like, okay, this is a cool event. We can make some money. Yeah. It can be a fun thing. Logan, as you pointed out, was going through his thing with the whole getting canceled with that thing going on in Japan or wherever that was. And
look at him now. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, bro, like I think Logan, like, really like just fucking turned around the public perception of him as a person, and it's like really dope to see.
And his persona is so much different than Jake's too. Jake's going the bad boy route, villain route, and then Logan kind of does, but also he's very I guess just more mature. He probably went through way more.
Mm-hmm.
They both probably went through a lot, but there's a difference.
I think it's very authentic too with
yeah.
Logan. Like I think
For sure.
he really did go through a period of change after that.
Yeah.
And then you're right, like that first fight was kind of this like comeback underdog kind of thing, and he did end up losing, but still it was something that I think again like gave people more respect, and then from there it kept turning into more and more respect as he carried himself. Right.
They actually
videos and the podcast, and then fighting Floyd.
Well, it was an amateur fight, the YouTube one, and they actually tied, right? They tied, and then they made the big Staples Center. Was it Staples Center? Was it the Staples Center when they fought?
So Logan and KSI tied initially?
They did, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it was they did it in the UK at first,
right.
I believe. Their amateur fight. They had headgear and all that, which was the YouTube one we saw.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So I don't think that one was counted, but it was a tie. They both tied. And at that time I was like, damn, I wish Logan won. But then the first professional fight was out here in LA, Staples Center, and that was like no headgear, I think 10-ounce gloves, and KSI pulled it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did it go to a decision?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he won by one round, but there's a whole controversy about knockdowns and stuff like that. But
how does boxing scoring work? Is it just about the number of punches total, or is it on a round by round basis?
Round by round, yeah. It's like who wins the round, who controls the round. I wouldn't even say...
Is it relatively subjective? Like the judges have some level of kind of...
There's three judges, right? But let's say one judge likes the person that throws a lot, throws a lot of punches, but it doesn't mean that they connect. But there's judges that like boxers, like where they can fight in the back foot, they throw the jab a lot and connect slightly, and it just looks like you're controlling the round. I would say someone like Floyd Mayweather knows how to control the round. That's why he just never loses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's boxing, it's a science. It's one round you could walk down your opponent and then not really touch him and then look like you took over, and just, dodge all his punches. That person's 1 for 30 that whole round. You connect 5 out of 5. You won the round, and it looks like you didn't really throw anything. Yeah, that's how you control it. And a lot of Olympic boxers really know how to do that. And Floyd's an Olympic boxer, so he's one of the GOATs.
Yeah. And I know that you've gotten the opportunity to see him training and all that shit, right? So I mean, that's got to be a whole nother experience.
Shout out to my boy Greg, TMT. He's one of Floyd's main bodyguards. He actually took a bullet from 4 or 5 years ago.
Damn.
Yeah, and so he's really close with Floyd, and I actually got really close with him too in the past couple of years, I would say. And he's actually he helps me with some business stuff in Vegas as well. So he's like one of my business partners out there with real estate stuff.
Yep.
So he was just like, yo, you want to come to Floyd's training camp, like check him out, bro. I couldn't like miss that opportunity because it's probably his last fight, who knows, but it was just cool.
This was before the Logan shit.
Yeah, this was before that whole Logan thing, so I was like, let's do it. So I went there and dude, saw him train, was training there myself, and just saw how much he worked, bro, and also just how calculated he works. He's a calculated person, and it's crazy how so many people see him and watch him train and how focused he is, but also he knows how to turn it on and make it entertaining. I got to watch a couple of his sparring sessions, bro. He's just a showman.
Because he would let people pull up to these sparring sessions, friends and family type of thing.
Yeah, and exactly, and obviously celebrities would come in and stuff. I think I seen Dan Bilzerian come in there one time, and bro, he just knows he all he does is talk shit the whole time, walks his opponent down. His opponent's probably bigger than him, and he just beats him up. He doesn't get hit. It's crazy. It's crazy to watch. And I've seen different training camps. I've actually me and Karl just went to Pacquiao's sparring session. It's different. Pacquiao is aggressive and throws a lot of punches. Mayweather was just calculated, bro. He looked like he was putting no energy, but when he wanted to, he put it on him. It was dope to see. It was dope to see.
And when people are sparring like that, are they going all out?
Oh,
yeah.
Especially when I went, there's a crowd, a small crowd in there in this gym, and he turned it on for that. I don't know, because there was times where he did spar just with
Are
him.
they wearing headgear when they're doing
Oh,
that?
yeah. They're wearing headgear, but there's times where he probably sparred with, like, you know, just his trainers, and I'm sure they were working on things, but when there was people there, I would have rather saw that.
Well, he's a showman, right? Like, he's putting on a show. Whether it's 20 people
there was blood.
or 20,000
people. There was blood in the sparring sessions too. I'm like, damn, this is the kind of fights I want to see.
You're
but,
right.
You know, it's crazy because he was fighting a bigger dude. They're wearing headgear. They're wearing bigger gloves, softer gloves. So it's like, damn, you're beating up these guys.
Well, because he was getting ready for a Logan, which was he's 50 pounds bigger than him, right?
Yeah.
Like,
what do you think about that fight?
I mean, I think it was entertainment. We got to go to it.
Yeah.
Me and you.
Yep.
Shout out to Karl.
Shout out to Kat.
But yeah, I mean, I think it was interesting being there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it was a super fun experience.
Yeah.
Because it was just a bunch of people hanging
started
out. It was like
raining.
the first kind of trip we did after
It was
COVID,
awesome. Yep.
you know?
Yep. Miami was cool.
Yeah. It was a good time.
It started raining, though. That was funny.
That didn't, that didn't feel like the Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley fight.
Yeah.
That felt more like these are two extremely famous guys that this is going to be an entertaining fight.
Yeah.
And Floyd knows what he's doing, I feel like, in those type of fights. Like, even with McGregor, like, he let the McGregor fight go to 6 rounds.
9.
Was it 9 rounds?
Almost 10, I think. 10. He knocked him in the 10th.
Right. And, like,
9th or 10th.
I think I'm curious what you think about the Logan thing. Like, do you think if he wanted to turn it on, he could have knocked out Logan? Or, like...
I think Logan was smart. I think he the best way for him to not get knocked out was to do exactly what he did, was
get close to him, like
tie him up, basically illegally tie him up. I think the referee, one of the footages that came out, the referee was like, Logan, like, you're gonna, if there was referees or if there was judges, you would get point taken out. Like, you can't,
like, every time. Yeah,
you can't do that.
Right.
He was just, you know, obviously I think he knows that, and he took advantage of it, of the, what was it, 40 pounds, 30 pounds difference?
Yeah. I mean, to me, what was cool about that fight was Logan was willing to go in there and just take punches from Floyd Mayweather for 8 rounds or whatever it was. And so shout out to him for doing that. That was the entertaining value there.
Yeah, you can't take away. They both have chins.
Right.
But also, I just know their plan, man. This is you see it too.
Right.
They call out smaller guys.
Yeah.
Guys that aren't in their weight class. Guys with big names, which is smart. I mean, they're building their own. I would say it's very contradictory to what it is with boxing, because they want to be respected in the boxing world, but they're not doing anything like really that's fully in the boxing world. They're making their own platform in the boxing community.
Yeah.
They're basically they're monetizing on the celebrity boxing matches, I guess, but professionally. It's like they're just building their own little lane.
100%.
It's like you can't, if you're a big boxing fan, right? You watch boxing, you watch all the guys that's coming up, or you watch all the legends that's fighting, right? You watch like Canelo and all them. But with Logan and Jake, they're building their own lane with these celebrities, and they're making everyone talk about, like, oh, you want to be a boxer? Why don't you fight a real boxer? But why would they, when they could fight like people like Tyron Woodley, who hasn't boxed before, but has a name? I mean, like Ben Askren, who has a name, has the accolades in a totally different sport, and then, you know, it's weird.
Well, I think the reality
it's good
is,
though. It's good.
Well, it's entertaining as fuck, and Showtime is probably fucking stoked about it. But I think the reality is they don't want to get ahead of themselves too much. As you know, in particular, Jake. I think Jake and Logan are in different paths now.
Yeah.
Because I think Logan is really on that celebrity boxing, like, it's entertainment path. Like, he fought Floyd.
Right.
If he fights again, you know, it'll be something that's entertaining.
Right.
Jake is, in my opinion, like, it seems like he's going a little bit more down the route of, like, I am trying to be respected as a real boxer. I'm just not quite ready to fight a real boxer yet.
Right. And also, he's taking it serious. He has like a really good team around him. I looked at his team. He has like BJ Flores, who was He was a good fighter as well. And then J. Leon Love, who was also in like the Floyd Mayweather camp, Al Heyman, a little circle, and he was a decent boxer. I think he was a champion. So he has like, the right people around him that tells him probably straight up like, yo, you need to do this. Like, you can't fight this guy. So
because it's strategic. Because like you build up this buzz.
Yeah.
4-0. Am I gonna fight Tyson Fury or whatever? Tommy Fury. Which one is that guy?
Tommy Fury.
Tommy
Fury is his little brother.
Yeah, right.
Here's how I see it though. I feel like Jake, he is he's obviously a pay-per-view star now. And the whole stigma of fighting UFC fighters is dying out. I don't think anybody wants to see that anymore.
He's got to fight a real boxer.
I mean, he does. It's just like, who is he gonna fight? Who is he gonna fight anymore that's enticing enough? Like, I mean, is he gonna go? Is he gonna do a rematch with Tyron, or is he gonna fight Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz? Like, I don't. It's just people already know these guys are scrappers, but they're not boxers.
Do you think he would fight Tommy Fury?
I don't. I just don't think he's ready yet.
See, I thought that going into that fight last Sunday, but after watching the 4 rounds with Fury, I don't know. I actually kind of think now, like, maybe that is a relatively even match.
Because
those dudes that Fury knocked out were nothing.
Were but they were boxers.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just think, yes, he didn't do well against the guy, I think Anthony Taylor or something like that. He's shorter. But I think he had boxing experience. He was a boxer, and he was a UFC fighter as well. But I just think, I mean, you don't really know, like 4 rounds, and he still beat him. I don't know. I think if Tommy Fury had a full camp to fight Jake Paul, he would know how to fight Jake Paul.
Well, that's why I think Paul doesn't want to fight Woodley again, because I think now they've gone 8 rounds. Woodley can go back to the drawing board and say, all right, this is what I need to do better.
And he had some success against him. I was talking to a lot of my boxing homies who are trainers, and they fought before. They all said the same thing. With how much resources Jake has for just starting out, they thought he would look better in this fight. For how much resources, how much time on the spotlight he's had. If you think about it, like, yes, he hasn't fought a lot, which is fine, but a lot of these champions, these guys that we see now on like PBC and like DAZN, they've been in the spotlight also for only like 5 or 6 fights, like kind of like how Jake is. Like, but Jake's on a higher level. He's a pay-per-view fighter. He's a prize fighter up there, So it's like, you have all these resources. You have a champion training you. You have all these really good boxers training you, and there's still a lot of flaws. There's still a lot of flaws, and I think it was shown against Tyron. Obviously, he won. I think like I said, with the judges, one of the judges gave it to Tyron, which is understandable in my opinion. Tyron was walking him down the whole fight. Jake was on his back foot the whole fight. He was kind of circling the ring, and Tyron was in the middle of the ring just stalking him the whole time. And what bit him on the ass was that he didn't throw enough. He didn't throw his jab, which he should have. He didn't capitalize on that hard shot in the 4th, right?
Woodley didn't.
Yeah,
Woodley, when he got him on the ropes.
Yeah, and some people say that could have been a knockdown because he grabbed the ropes, and a lot. I think the rules say you can't just hold on to the ropes to hold yourself up, or it's a knockdown. So, I mean, it's just too many unknowns in that fight, too many questions unanswered, and I just feel like maybe they should run it back. I just don't know who to see. I mean, do you want to see him fight Tommy Fury? I don't know. I don't think that's going to be as big. It might be because he's a UK fighter, but
I think it just depends on how much they can get the shit talking going.
Yeah.
Which is again what Jake is really good at, is like building up the hype for this shit. Because, Tyron Woodley didn't really even do a lot of press going up to this, but it still was like pretty hyped up just off of his name.
His name.
He's
a
holds volume.
5-time UFC welterweight champion. I guess he's.
But it seems like Fury is a little bit more media focused and willing to engage in that kind of shit talking, and so that's why I think that maybe they could go in that direction. Maybe they'll do the rematch.
That would be cool. But the crazy thing is, a lot of boxers that actually, that are the same age range as Fury, they say he's not that good.
Yeah.
Boxers say that, like
right.
actual boxers.
I just think it kind of like, it just looks like a fight that makes sense to me because it's like you got this UK guy, he's this like pretty boy with a little bit of celebrity.
Right.
Like he was on that show or whatever, right? He was on Love Island.
Yes, yeah. I think
so. It's like it's almost like a UK version of Jake Paul. You know, he's like got a little bit of the fame.
He might be bigger than Jake Paul.
Well, he's definitely like more jacked.
Yeah,
but you know what I'm saying? It's just like you could sell it in a way.
You can. I just if I were in Jake Paul's camp, I think they've always talked about it, but everything just matches too much, like just height wise, skill wise, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It might be too much of a peak,
right?
You know.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say too. Is that like they are gonna be very strategic with stringing this along?
Yeah,
because they're getting millions of dollars every single time that they fight,
right? Because who knows this next if he does fight Jake, I mean he could for some reason train really well and just outbox the shit out of him.
I think if Jake loses, the $1 million paydays, pay-per-view fights are pretty much over.
And to be honest, Jake needs to knock out every opponent.
Right. To keep the buzz alive.
Yeah, I mean, aren't you a little like, from the build-up, you know, he was talking about knocking him out in the first, second, third round or whatever, even his whole team. And, and I mean, a lot of people were saying he was going to get knocked out because just based off what he did with Ben. Right. But obviously, they're two different fighters, and he lost it 8 rounds, and he kind of was on his back pedal the whole time, which is fine. He knew he jabbed him. He like used his length and stuff. But like, you're known as a pay-per-view knockout star.
Yeah, people wanted the knockout.
They want the knockout.
Yeah, people wanted the knockout. I guess after watching it, I'm fine that it went 8 rounds because now we know like, okay, he has the stamina. Mm-hmm. You know, so that was one interesting thing. It was like, okay, like all of his fights have been like 2 minutes. Yeah. And so can he really go 8 rounds and take a punch? Yeah. Now that is kind of answered a little bit. So if you're really looking at it from like the interested in boxing perspective, it's like, okay, that's another little interesting part of the story here.
Also, they're just marketing geniuses. I love how this is why I'm a big fan of it, even though I'm not a fan, but I am. Like Jake was talking about, you could see his tendencies, you know, especially with Logan too, and the tendencies with hyping up the fights. Before the fight, it was like, oh, he's a UFC champion, like kind of doing that. And then after, when he lasted 8 rounds and he got rocked a little bit, he's like, oh, I just went against a UFC champion. Right. Like, you guys give me more time, like, you know. Yeah. So it's just it's funny how that like the two spectrums work with that.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, man. I personally, I'm entertained by it. Mm-hmm. I think that it's good for boxing, in my opinion, not being 100%. Someone who's super into boxing, because it's just more eyes and ears, right?
Well, there's obviously there's the boxing fans that's always been, you know, watching all the fights and watched boxers grow into champions and stuff. But he definitely brought in a whole world of influencers, a younger crowd that probably, you know, never watched boxing in their life. And there's more money to the sport. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I don't know if your For You page or your Instagram Explore page, there's a lot of influencers boxing now. Oh, I mean, even me, I'm posting more boxing stuff. Right. You know, like I'm boxing. Like I'm not here training to fight. Maybe I am, but
Cam Meekins show fight announcement coming.
I mean, we'll see. But yeah, I've been training, and I've always loved boxing, but yeah, just seeing like Jake, Logan, all these other guys like training and fighting, and I'm also a creator too. Like I film my own things and I edit my own things. It's fun to like film myself and film other people training and putting it out there. It's inspiring, especially when I post stuff on my story, like just checking in on people, make sure like you get your run in or make sure you work out today. A lot of people are hitting me up saying like, bro, like I just needed that push.
Bro,
like,
I've done 3 runs this week because you post shit like that. I'm not even fucking around.
Really? So, yeah. See, bro, that's
and
amazing.
Like you got to keep going with that. Like, you know, and that's the thing about social media. Sometimes you might think like, oh man, like, you know, do people give a fuck that I posted this? It's like, yes, they do, bro. Like when you post your shit, like you're boxing or you're on a run or you're training, I think, you know, a lot of people get a lot of value out of your content because they see that and it motivates them.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome.
Because you're on point with your training and everything that you're doing.
Yeah, and it's just, bro, it's just a lifestyle, like, and I it's weird to say influencer, but that's really what you are when you're like posting things and you're influencing other people to do things. You're a good influence on people.
100%, bro.
And yeah, it's
well, and it goes both ways, right? Like, you know, there's a lot of people that might be just doing shit for clout, you know, or for views, and like that's not necessarily influencing people in a good way. But then there are people like you who are influencing people to better their life, their health. Yeah. You know, get out and run. Yeah. You know, that's a positive. Yeah. And you know, that's the world we live in now. Everyone's online 24/7. Yeah. You know?
I also, that's also another thing too. I think the pandemic helped a lot with the Jake Paul rise into boxing. I think he did that whole Triller thing. Is it Triller?
Yeah, I think the last one was Triller, right? With Ben Askren.
With Ben, yep. And bro, everyone was at their house. Like, just, you know, a lot of eyes were added on during the pandemic just because everyone wasn't out. There was no one's like coming out to watch fights at stadiums, you know, at that time. And I think it blew it up because he was a big internet star. Like, more eyes on him, especially when he did an event online. That's going to add another 500, 600,000 people. So
it's really crazy that the people who are internet focused now really are the biggest people in the world. You know, like,
especially if we monetize views and stuff, it's no.
But you know, musicians and actors and people who are real artists, you know, like they're great at something. Those people are really important to society, but they're not like the most thought about public figures anymore. You know, it is the Jake Pauls of the world and these other people that just have tremendous influence over the internet because they're just everywhere.
Where do you think his ceiling is?
I mean, you know, I can't count it out, man. I could see him strategically fighting like 5 more fights and then like getting
5?
Like so? And then getting like a fucking championship fight.
Oh my! I mean, he's called out Canelo. He's called out Gervonta.
But what weight class is Canelo? Because he's like,
his biggest weight class is probably light heavyweight, which is like 175.
Right.
Can Jake cut down to 175?
I don't know about that. He looked 15 pounds heavier than the weigh-in.
Bro, he probably walks around like 205.
Yeah.
He's a heavyweight.
Yeah.
Cruiserweight at the least, which is he's big. He's a big dude.
I just think that all the people involved in this whole process, from Showtime to the people behind the scenes to Jake himself, he's a really smart businessman. Like, I feel like they're gonna strategically ride this out, you know, and just keep making it more and more interesting. Yeah. And I could see it going, I don't know, 5 more fights.
What do you think Logan's gonna be? Who do you think he's gonna fight next? He's been quiet since
is he out of retirement?
I mean, shit, since he beat Floyd Mayweather,
retired Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, retired him again.
Yo, I don't know yet. I'm gonna give you an answer. But speaking of Logan, did you see that video of the kid asking Logan for a job?
I did. The kid, he had like $100K salary. And
he was like, he's making $3 million. Like, I'm over here making $100K.
He was like, yeah, he was talking about. He just made $3 million and I'm making $100K a year. Like, bro, what?
Bro, that was like the wildest, most like white privilege shit I've ever seen in my life.
That was crazy. That was crazy. He was serious, and he like, it's funny because Logan saw the camera too, and he's filming. He's like, "What'd you do? Sneak in?" Like, it's such a. Did you sneak into the fight kind of thing?
Even seeing like Logan's response, there is another thing that makes me feel like, man, like, you know, this dude Logan is really on point. Like, he was saying
good advice,
facts.
Too.
Like, he was
gave him good advice.
100%. He was like, why would I give you a handout? Why would I give you a job when you're telling me nothing? Right.
He was like, what can you do for me?
Right. And the kid was just like,
I work hard. Like,
yeah. He's like, there's no handouts.
Yeah. He's like, I have no friends, bro. We'll get some.
Right.
Like. Fake it. No,
he was speaking facts, man. So, and I, you know, in some ways I feel bad because I think the whole entire internet is like shitting on this kid right now. But
yeah.
But I mean, come on,
it's
dude.
On TikTok, bro. It's over.
Yeah.
TikTok.
But actually, I guess I don't really feel that bad because I think now the kid is trying to sell T-shirts that say like "Logan, give me a job."
Oh my god.
Like that.
Okay.
Like, people will just do whatever, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know who he's gonna fight next. I mean, what's interesting after Floyd? It's like, you know, what.
I mean,
what sells tickets
he's
like that?
He's probably the most successful loser I've ever seen. I don't think he's won one fight.
Yeah, it is pretty wild how many pay-per-views he's sold for not winning anything.
Probably a big, in my opinion, a big part of it is with the Floyd fight, but like his pay-per-view sales. But I just don't know.
I mean, anything Floyd does is gonna get a million fucking buys, whatever.
Yeah, it's just who's next for him at least. I don't even know.
You think Jake and Logan would ever fight each other?
No.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
Why do that? They're brothers. Like, they're not going to knock each other out.
They're brothers. I think they'll make a lot of money, but like it's going to be staged, if anything.
Yeah.
I just think.
But like, how could you justify
Jake's
that?
a better boxer.
Right.
Jake's a way better boxer, but I think Logan is stronger. I don't know if that means anything.
Yeah.
It's hard to.
Well,
it's hard
Logan's
to
got a
that.
chin. I mean, so he could probably take some punches from Jake, and
it's just he has that big brother feel. Like I just feel like Jake sees him as the big brother. And
so mentally,
I mean, you have big brothers, right?
Yeah.
And you have like.
No, it'd be hard to overcome.
There's just that respect. You know,
Yeah.
you don't become a beast against your brother.
Right.
You know, I feel like Jake's a better boxer, but I feel like he becomes like a totally different person.
Yeah, he mentally can't get there because
I mean, you see them when they're together too.
Yeah.
It's very, especially when I see these little press conferences, you could see that he really listens to Logan, or like he like know he's very not submissive, but just not as he is with other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jake's very like snappy, and like if you say something weird and like wrong to him, he'll like get you back with a trolling comment.
Right.
Logan would say anything, and Jake would be kind of like, you know, the little brother. And
yeah.
I just don't see it.
No, that's a good point.
It'd be cool, but I just know it'll be like staged. It'd be like a little, like a tie or something.
It's interesting, man, because I think with the Logan and Floyd fight, you know, I know that you've been into boxing for years, but going to that camp with Floyd, I feel like just knowing you and seeing like what you've been up to and just, you know, hanging out with you all the time, I feel like that what kind of got you back into training at a high levels? Because now you're really training as if you're ready to fucking fight.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, yes. Just watching him train, bro, and also not even the intensity, just how smart he was and how it's part of his life still, and his life is crazy. Like the man probably is out the whole day, and he has so many of these business ventures that he has. I mean, he puts it on publicly out there. He owns like a skating rink, and he goes there like every day, and he like
rollerblading,
bro. Yeah, he rollerblades every day. His schedule is like, he goes biking randomly, he goes shopping, like he'll just be out all day, and then he'll go train, and it's like part of his life still. Like in the days when he doesn't want to train, he'll just be like, I don't want to train today, but he'll like go hard the next day. You know, it's just a cool lifestyle. And also watching him in the gym, he goes for hours, and he's focused because there's so many people there. You know how it is when people are watching you sometimes, and they're there for you and only you, and they want to see something crazy, like something impressive. Bro, he's just doing his thing. Like he'll hit the bag for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then like he'll go jump rope and then hit the bag again, and then he'll hit another bag, and then he'll stop, and then he'll put on his running shoes and go run for like hours in Vegas. Like, bro,
you've gone on runs with him, right?
Bro, he'll go for hours. Like he'll have a whole convoy of like bodyguards, just like
some presidential shit,
stopping everyone from like filming him. He's just on a different level.
Yeah,
and it's dope. I wish I went on runs with Manny, because he for his age too, the intensity he puts in his running, like, bro, he'll run like 6 to 10 miles just like uphill in the hills, like in Griffith Park and stuff. I'm like, bro, that's crazy.
Oh.
Floyd wouldn't do that. Floyd he'll just keep a pace, and he'll have his headphones on and just run, which is insane too. Like in Vegas, so hot, and he'll just do it anytime. He'll run. I mean, he posts on his Instagram too. He'll be in Miami. I think he ran after the fight. He did some crazy, like he went running after the fight.
I remember hearing about that or something. Yeah,
bro, he was
just like, I'm warmed up.
Those guys are animals.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's kind of like I want to be that when I'm 40.
Yeah,
you know, like
when
you're 40 years old, 50 years old, like I don't want to just be chilling, staying at home, like wishing I worked out. You know, I want to have that mentality. Like,
do you think that it's like genetics with some of these dudes, or do you think it's discipline and diet, nutrition, and everything like that?
No, I think it's discipline. I sure there's a, I feel like let's say bodybuilding. I think that's more genetics than anything, right? You like cut out the drugs that they use to get bigger, but I mean, if you're ripped already and you're eating McDonald's and burgers and stuff like that, and you're ripped, that's genetics, right? And you could build muscle and look super lean, look crazy, and go online and tell everyone like, follow my diet plan. Like, that's genetics. But if you're someone like let's say like Floyd, if you look at his family, it's just like they're all boxers. They all are they're all disciplined. They all stick around boxing, and you could see that when they're with that mentality, they're just disciplined with it. Like, Floyd will train, like, till this day he'll still trains just to stay in shape. If he stopped training, he'll definitely be out of shape. You know, look at all these athletes. They all get out of shape when they're like 4 years old. They're all commentators. Even look at the commentators. They're like a little,
they get, because when you're big and jacked like that, if you don't maintain that, it just turns into being just big.
Yeah, and that's when you gotta look at your diet and all that stuff. It's part of it. I would say, genetics with Floyd. Like, I'm sure he'll probably eat whatever he wants and still be ripped. But I mean, man's is running miles every day.
Well, maybe that's why he can eat shit, because he's putting in that work.
Yeah, it's his discipline, his mental, and with Manny too. It's like, bro, you're a senator in the Philippines, and you're doing so much work, and you're doing a full training camp. The travel from the Philippines to America, and then straight into training camp, and then fighting a championship fight, and then flying back to the Philippines and being a senator. Like, that's crazy. Like,
maintaining that lifestyle does, no matter what, just take a crazy amount of discipline. But I feel like you're someone who has that discipline too, with the lifestyle that you live, right? You know, like, you wear a lot of hats, man. Like, you're business partners with Karl and a bunch of different shit. You do your own thing. You're boxing, you're training. You've got the, professional baseball background. Like, you've always been someone who's very nutrition minded.
Yeah.
Where do you think that comes from for you? Is that because of your upbringing, coming to America young?
Yeah. So I would say, coming from the Philippines, General Santos City, I came here, and I was skinny. I was a skinny kid. Obviously, I didn't have much. I grew up. I would say to people's standards, I was pretty poor. My family's pretty poor, and then we came here. America, when you're poor, what's the biggest access for food, right? Fast food. So I was eating like McDonald's and like just the most cheapest fast food you could buy. And bro, I got obese at a young age, and that's when the sports came. My dad was like, "Yo, you're chubby. You're getting chubby." So he put me in soccer. I wasn't good at soccer, but I was running a lot, and I think that, and you played in sports, and you've had teams. Like, when you're in a team setting, you learn a lot of things from other people. And since when I got to baseball, baseball is very diverse. There's a lot of Hispanics, a lot of white people, black people. It's so diverse, and I felt more at home with baseball because I didn't really know how to speak English that well, and I met so many people throughout the whole thing, and there was no judging, and there was no it was just more comfortable for me. And that's when I started learning, like, okay, if I get good at this, like, I could lose a little bit weight and, like, be skillful at this kind of sport. It just gave me a purpose, right? It gave me a purpose. And growing up, it's like, once I was in baseball, I started looking up, like, lifting weights and dieting, and how do I get better at this thing? And it all includes, like, training, dieting, staying focused. And that whole thing just, that's how I grew from it. And
what were you talking, like 13 at this point?
I would say 11, 12 years old, because I rapidly got better at baseball. I started playing in a little league, like a little local little league, and that's where I met, our boy Blaine, and a lot of these people I kind of grew up with. And I went to a traveling team that was really big in the Bay Area that had like basically the best players from each little league into one team. And it kind of humbled me because I was like, okay, I'm not that good. And that's when I started working. I was like, all right, you got kids that's like, you know, they have these crazy genetics who's like running fast, and I wanted to run fast, and I wanted to be a little, you know, lighter, and I wanted to be more respected, you know, because I was still a little chubby kid, but I was like good at baseball. And then, you know, you put all these great players together and who are like just genetically and skillfully good at it. It made me want to be like, you know, and that's when my dad came in, was like, I'll, you know, we'll do this and this and this. And, you know, around that time, I put in the work and went to high school. That's when everything kind of changed for me. Going to high school I had a lot of respect coming into high school because I had that background of like travel baseball, playing in like the highest level, and then going into high school, which is a high level, but it was easier for me, you know. It's not coming from a little league to high school, you would have a little bit of trouble because there's so many good players, but I came in like already super experienced. I've been training, like I put in a lot of work, and that's when it kind of changed. Like,
and was your school like known for baseball?
Yeah, it was known for baseball. It was one of the top in the area. And yeah, I think I was the youngest one to go to varsity, which was.
Were you on varsity freshman year?
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that was one of those
in what
cool
position?
moments.
Catcher?
I was a catcher, yeah. There was a senior that was he was a senior, he was like 6'2". He was good, but like it was just, you know, I fit in better at that time. And it was cool. Yeah.
And so then you go through high school, you have you know, at that time you're really focused on baseball. Is the goal to go pro?
Of course, yeah. That was my whole life. It was a goal. So I went to college. This is when everything started getting real, cuz I was really good, but you know how it is. Like, I got in a relationship, like money at that time was hard. So I was becoming more of an adult, and it was hard to like juggle everything, but like luckily I still had the skill and like played well. And then I had the chance after college, like I didn't do well my senior year, but after college, like that whole 3-4 months of summer, like I got to train and like you know, practice, and also just work with the Dodgers and stuff to like, you know, just work on my game and get better. And unluckily I got hurt. And then that's when I transitioned everything, you know, like that's when I had the whole like, dang, what am I gonna do now?
Because you're on this path, you're thinking, all right.
And I also, I'm not even gonna lie, I knew like I probably wasn't after college. Like,
it might not happen.
Yeah, because it's you have that reality check, you know. Technically, a lot of these guys that sign or get drafted, they were like 18, 19, 20, right? And I was already a senior in college, and I was a late senior too. Like, so I was already too old technically, but it's just I just know the business, you know. And I just knew a lot of players that went to professional as well, and kind of stuck with it, and they're telling me like, yeah man, I've been in it for 5 years, and like I made like $400 a month, and it just hit me, and luckily I knew that, so it mentally prepared me to face reality. Right? So
because it's so hard, like on the minor league, like farm league scale.
Yeah, it's timing, it's who you know in a way, because I know some people that probably weren't the best players and were signed because they knew someone, right? Which is that's the business, and also that was a reality check too. It's the business, right? And I went on a full hiatus after that. That's why I didn't really even like talking about baseball for a long time because of that. But I was already mentally prepared on what I wanted to do, and basically what I wanted to do after baseball, right? So that my senior year, I was shooting music videos and like shooting photos and hanging out with. It's crazy because I had skill with baseball that sometimes I didn't practice as hard as I should have, but I still in the games I still did well.
Right.
because most of the time I would stay out late and shoot music videos.
And were you doing that because at the time financially you were trying to just make it work?
Right. Yeah.
So you're managing doing baseball, being in school,
yeah,
and trying to pay your bills, whatever they were too.
Yeah, and gas in California. You know how California is. Like I had to drive the practice facility, which was in Oakland. The traffic was crazy. I'd drive like 45, 50 minutes, and the practice would be at 7 in the morning. So I had to get up like at 5:30, you know, and that was every day. Especially for during the fall. That was every day, and like my parents weren't paying for my bills. Like, you know, my parents had their own. If anything, I should have been, you know, helping my parents, right? So yeah, I was doing that. I was shooting music videos for like $100 here, $50 here, sometimes for free, just because, you know, it's experience. And
you're working with some Bay Area like legends,
yeah,
too.
Some Bay Area guys, and
they were coming up at that time.
They were coming up at that time, and yeah, I just learned the game with that. I learned the business model with that, and experience beats, you know, whatever you learn in school, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so that helped a lot, and that was a transitional stage. It's like, should I not shoot these videos and just focus on baseball and like go in the gym instead of shooting these videos, or prepare myself to like figure out a career after this? And that's, you know, luckily I did that, and I don't even shoot music videos anymore.
What it cost?
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was a fire video. Shout out Blaine. But one of the things I really took away from what you just said was, you know, this notion that for a period you didn't even want to talk about baseball, and that is something that I really resonate with, and I think a lot of people can really like get something out of, because that happens to a lot of us in our life. You know, we think that we are going to go down this path, and then at some point in our life, sometimes we have to pivot. Yeah. And in that moment, when you're pivoting, it's really tough to look at the situation and even acknowledge it or talk about it or think about it or whatever, because, you know, it's traumatic in a way. Yeah. But I can imagine now, like, knowing what you've now done in the last, 5 years, and, the leaps and bounds you've made in your career, that you probably look back and like, I know, thankful that everything happens for a reason and you are where you are. Right. And that's something that I think is a great kind of lesson for anybody, is like, there are those moments where something happens and you feel like you can't even talk about it or acknowledge it because, whatever, you might be upset about it or whatever, you're kind of just thinking about it in that way. But it's about that willingness to keep going to that next thing and continue to level up, and just knowing that path, is there. Like you're going somewhere that you're supposed to be, right? Like, is that kind of how you ended up coming to terms with all that, to the point where like you're talking about it now, you're chill, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like,
well, before that, like I said before, that was my life, right? Baseball was my life. I dedicated it every day. And me growing up, especially coming from, a different country, I've always had the mentality, especially when I, came here young and, not treated equally, I guess. Like, I was like the weirdo, just I didn't speak English. There's a lot of, white people in my class that like didn't understand. Like, I would bring like rice and chicken adobo to class, like, in first grade, and they're like, what are you doing? They had Lunchables. And it was just like, I always felt like I had to prove myself. So I started bringing in Lunchables, and it was more expensive, but like I started bringing Lunchables and like just try to, make me feel better. Yeah. And I think there was a time where I was just like, no, forget that. I want to accomplish things myself without anyone's like, approval. And baseball was one of those things where I wanted to accomplish, like make it to the major leagues, right? Or just at least be more successful than I was. And there's just a lot of things that kept stopping me. And when it finally was over, I felt like a failure. Like I felt defeated. And I felt like I failed before many times, like obviously, in college and like certain games, but I just knew that it was over. So it was like there was no like, oh, what can I do now? That was it. And that's when I tried to come to terms with it. And the only way I could do that was to never talk about it again. I didn't even watch baseball. I think a year or two after that, like no one even knew I played baseball, you know. And then when I started, like when I threw a ball or I hit a ball, they're like, oh dang, like bro, what, you know, you could hit, you could, you know. But even with Karl, I just, when I first met him, I just started really playing baseball and stuff again, like playing catch,
like being down to
and like, and he's just a big fan of baseball too.
Right.
So it all kind of helped me kind of like open up again with baseball and like come to terms with it. To be honest, I think it took me like 3 years, to really come to terms with it. And I think back to your question of like how I came to it, like it was it slowly just came back in with no, and those 2 years of just a hiatus of not talking about it, it really made that transition coming back in way better for me. Because let's say someone was just like, you know, bro, let's play baseball, let's go to the batting cage, I would have been like, you know, that's I'm cool.
Yeah.
But like those 2 years of not even talking about it, not even looking at any baseball games, even my parents weren't even talking about it. Like it just made it better for me for it to come back in. So it's crazy now. Just I think I'm better than what I was before.
Right.
You know, I'm in better shape and like, you know. And I also probably thinking about it now and talking about it now, I think that last year of my baseball career, I just wasn't healthy. You know, I wasn't mentally there. Like I said, with I think at that time, there was a relationship I had that it had to end. I was out of shape. I was broke. You know, there was just a lot
of different distractions and things going on.
And for someone like me who grew up the way I did, just always goal orientated and always like achieving goals, because in my opinion, started from the bottom. I felt like I was coming back down to that. Like I came in to America, like I was like fat, overweight, and we were like broke. And I was like slow, like in college I was starting to get overweight, so losing money, like didn't have a career. Like it was just like a disappointment. So
yeah, but it's about what we do in those moments, right? Then we pick ourselves back up and we get going again.
Yeah.
And clearly you started to do that after that transition period, and that's the biggest the lesson there, I feel like. You know. So the baseball thing goes in that direction. You start focusing more on videography and building your business. Is that kind of where you went from there?
So I think one summer I went with this girl to like San Diego or something, and I started taking photos on my phone, which was like a shitty phone at that time. And like I was like, oh, these are cool. Like I could start, you know, really manipulating these photos. I think just the creative mind just started, you know. And at that time, like, oh, I could do this with this kind of phone. Like let me get a camera or something, or like let me borrow a camera. And I started getting into it. And I think that between that time, you know, I was good friends with Jin Love, and Jin Love was a big creative artist in the Bay Area. Like he was working with like a lot of different artists and stuff, and I started like picking up the camera more. And yeah, it just grew so quick with it. You know, I just started taking photos and I started taking videos, and I met artists that were coming up and was like, yo, you want to shoot this video for me? And a lot of people just played a part in, you know, getting me in that whole industry. And luckily, I think there was a wave of Bay Area filmmakers, Bay Area creatives, and Bay Area artists. There was a big wave of that, and I think I caught on to that wave.
Well, what's cool about the Bay Area, the creative dynamic, I feel like in the Bay Area is like everybody's supporting each other.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of love for just the overall region.
Yeah.
You know, whatever city, either way, just the whole Bay Area supports one another, it seems like. Yeah. All the way down from the videographers to the artists to the producers.
Right. At that time, it definitely was, because everyone saw the potential of where everything was going. A lot of artists that we used to just sit in like the garage with, and they would play their songs. Like months later, their songs were on the radio. So it was like a big, like, oh wow, we heard this song in the garage with you. Now it's like one of the biggest songs. So it's like it was that feeling of like, you know, you're coming up with them. So that kind of boosted that whole creative, like, oh, I could do something with this. And also Instagram became a thing. Yeah, I'm trying to really pinpoint where everything went. So yeah, I became a film guy. I started shooting more videos. In the beginning, I shot some for free. I shot some for cash just because I was, didn't have money. And like during that hiatus time, I was like, I'm gonna go to LA. I'm gonna go to LA. Slept on Blaine's couch, and became a Postmates driver. I had like $40 in my account, and I wasn't paying rent yet because I was on the couch, and I became a Postmates driver. And then they eventually made me a room in like this little shack in the back of the house.
Yeah.
And they're like $500 a month.
Just pick a number.
There's no window. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's where my life started, really, in LA.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to grind it out sometimes.
The grind, which I loved. That's the thing. I wasn't like, oh man, I got to grind again.
Yeah, I feel like you look forward to that discipline, it seems like.
Well, and also I had the goal, another goal I didn't even talk about was getting a degree, right? Because I was living in the shack, just literally doing online classes to get my degrees and stuff. So it was a grind. Like, I had no money. I basically just left, and my parents didn't really say anything. They kind of just knew, like,
he's gonna figure it out.
Yeah. They weren't like, where are you going? Like, you could come back home. Like, they knew where my life was. They were very they're from the Philippines. It's a Filipino family. Even though they want their child to succeed, they just knew what it took, and it took me leaving home, leaving the Bay Area, and starting a whole new thing.
Like, almost like they wanted you to feel that pressure, kind of.
Yeah, very much. I think I had such a high with baseball because I was like, I worked so hard, and then when I got to high school, it was like I was a stud, right? And then reality came again, college. And then it went up a little bit, and then it came back crashing down. And I think the move to LA was one of those build-up moments for me, and I'm just grateful that happened.
Yeah, when you got to LA and you're doing the creative work and you're building basically your new career, which is what it is now. Like, did you immediately start to feel purpose and happiness with it, or did that come when the success came? Or
definitely not immediately, because I just knew the grind was there. I just didn't know how long. And there was I didn't think too hard about it, but I knew, a lot of people come to LA thinking they're going to get famous or be successful, and I just knew like it was going to be a long time for me. And when I thought that, I was like, all right, it's going to take a while. For me, it's just like I started falling into the right places. And it didn't feel as long as I thought it would. But I started falling into the right places, and I think by the grace of God, it worked out that way. I started, obviously Blaine was a big part of it. Blaine knew a lot of people.
Yeah.
And Blaine introduced me to a lot of people.
Well, that's how we met, because you went on tour with Swayze.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's
and I was on that tour.
That was one of the biggest life changes as well. Because before that, I was doing Postmates and like doing random shoots with like models, for free. And I mean, and also I try to capitalize on Instagram at that time with videos. I got really popular off doing those little vacation videos with the hands in front of the camera. And
like the two people walking, like holding their hands.
So shit. I was doing a lot of those, and LA's a big trendy place,
right?
And it was a trend. And I feel like
you go like the Santa Monica Pier and just
not a lot of people were doing it,
right?
Because I think they were just not good with girls. I don't know, or a lot of creatives at that time or photographers weren't like good with that.
Yeah,
and like I was good with that, and like that's how I met a lot of people,
right?
And I say that to say this: I met a lot of models and like all that stuff, and one of those models was the person that introduced me to Karl's girlfriend at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that transitioned to the whole thing, and then me and Karl became friends, and this is just a fast forward.
Yeah,
I got really good at that with Swayze, and then I met a bunch of models, and my friend introduced me to another girl who I got really close with. She was like one of my best friends, who ended up dating Karl, and me and Karl got super close, and then like after a year or two, me and him started working together. So, and then now that's where we're at.
But I think you said like you know, by God's grace, like it fell into place or whatever. I didn't mean to rhyme there, but you know, that's what we do.
Rapper.
But I think also though it's you put yourself in the right place at the right time, but it's also just about like how you carry yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's so dope about, you know, this story to me is like, you know, like is it somewhat random that like you got connected to this person and then this person and then that led to more things in your career? Like, yes, but it's about the energy that you give off in those moments that make people feel like there's something here. You know, I want to further this business relationship. I want to work more with this person because that energy is there. And so that's an important thing when you're building, when you're growing as an entrepreneur. It's like, you know, you put out that good energy, you're an authentic person, you're really doing the work. Good things are going to happen as long as you continue to move around and meet more people and things happen, you know?
Yeah, and to the authenticity part, there was never a goal to get anything from anyone when I you know, met all these people. It was always like an even exchange, or just it was more like mostly an even exchange. Like, let's say like I met these girls, right? They wanted photos, they wanted video, and in between that we hang out and it's cool. Like we're cool people. Like that's it. There was no like, all right, like let's hang out more so we can do that. Like it was never that. It was just even exchange, authentic, like genuine. And of course there was times where I met people who weren't, which is given. Like I hate when people go to LA and then they're like, oh, so many fake people here. Like, bro, you've known this for years.
I hate that.
Why would
too,
you
bro.
even like? Why is that a surprise?
It's disrespectful to the whole city, first of all, to say that, and two, it's like that's what some of these people are on. Like, you just got to know that.
You got to know that, and then also it's just stay on your toes.
Well, I love our friend group because I feel like what keeps the common denominator between all the people that we know in LA is like we authentically are friends with each other. Yeah. It isn't that kind of, you know,
and we're all
clout-driven thing.
We're all in different fields, I feel like, and also we're also successful in our own way. Like with being an artist, like you're super successful. You've been successful, right? You were signed when you're young, and you built your own brand. And like Blaine, he's always like he's been doing his thing. Like that's, you know, he's the reason why I even got into this whole thing.
100%.
Me, I've never, you know, used anyone to get somewhere, right? I mean, obviously Karl is like,
he's good at shooting a basketball into the hoop. Really good at it, honestly.
A good tennis player. But yeah, and all our friends, exactly. It's just they're all kind of in their own lane, and we generally just are friends. Like we're all close because of that.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So
no, and it's interesting too because it's like a ragtag group of people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
From different backgrounds that do different things. Right.
And the reason why I say Blaine a lot is because he is the reason why we all kind of got
without
together.
a doubt. Yeah, he's the common denominator.
And he's a dad now, so it's like it's hard for him to come out to LA.
I know. Yeah, I mean Blaine. I became so close with Blaine working, you know, over the last 8 years, really, since we met on the Swayze tour. And Blaine and I, you know, lived in Boston for a period of time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like working, and we've just built so much together. And then, obviously, you know, I knew you through Blaine that a good portion of that period, but you were always kind of doing your thing,
right? And
like Blaine connecting all of us with Karl and everything, and everything, like built this whole group of friends.
Yeah, I remember that first time we met. It was in Jersey. I feel like New Jersey.
Stanhope House. Was that what it's called?
Stanhope. You had a cool crew.
Yeah.
You had.
Who was I with on that tour?
You had like OG Swagger.
Yeah.
The other keys like a designer.
Was Tim on?
I'm not sure. I don't remember Tim, but I remember this kid. He was like super swaggy.
Oh, Derek.
Yeah,
Derek's killing it now, man. Derek is like the guy with Sway Lee and a bunch of other people. Designer? Yeah, he's like a big fashion designer now.
Yeah,
man.
So you had a star-studded crew.
I'll tell you, man. I'm good at connecting with people that have a lot of potential and end up doing great things.
And at that time too, like Swayze was telling me too. He was like, "Yeah, Cam, he's like killing it with like YouTube and stuff." And he was showing me your videos. You had like millions of views. I was like, I was like, dang. And I seen you perform. I was like, oh, okay, I see why. Because that whole tour, we were kind of like linking up with so many different artists.
Right.
And he'd be like, yeah, this kid's opening up for me. And then like he opens up and just like,
right.
But then you came, and I was like, oh, you had your whole different vibe. You had your whole fan base. You had a star-studded crew. You had like good people, and then you had visuals, and then your performances sounded just like your songs on iTunes. I was like, all right, bro, he's got it.
Well, so I came up in 2010, 2011, where like Instagram wasn't a thing. Like I wasn't building my fan base from doing like quick videos.
Yeah,
I was literally building the fan base in Boston, brick by brick, doing shows, opening for people that would come to this venue called the Middle East. And like this dude Leeds, who was the promoter, like I would get on these shows, sell tickets to people that were from my town or from wherever, and learn how to actually perform. And it was such an important part of what I was doing, was trying to figure out like, how do I really create like a stage presence while also still maintaining like the rap and having it sound good? Because for me, what interests people, I think, about what I do is like, you wouldn't think it, but I'm coming with some crazy bars.
Yeah.
And so I had to get that across in a live show setting.
Yeah.
And I kind of credit that to the era that I came up in, not being as much of the digital era and more being like actually doing live shows when I was just getting started. Because I had already been, 100 shows in by the time I went on tour with Swayze.
Yeah, and also I feel like that era too is there was a lot of white rappers.
Yes.
But here's the difference though. You put in the work, way more work than, especially the ones I knew. You put in a lot of work, and you were known to be in that same circle, to be honest, like with even like Mac Miller, like you were up there like in that same realm because of like just how much you like put in work. You could tell too. And it's like you knew how to perform. You had the look. You had like the presence. It was. I was like, oh, yeah, this kid's got it. And Swayze knew too. He was like, yeah, this kid's got it.
Yeah, that
Swayze's a alpha dog.
No, that's true. And it takes a lot for Sway to say like, yeah, no, he's dope.
Yeah. He'll be like, yeah, he's dope. He's
like, yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's whatever, but it's cool.
Yeah.
No, Sway's my guy. I gotta get Sway on this podcast.
For real, he's out here. He's in Malibu.
We've talked about it a couple times. It just hasn't ended up working out, but he'll come on.
Drive, yeah.
He'll come on for sure. But nah, man. I mean, I have to say it. I think other than Mac, out of all the white rappers that came up in that era, bar for bar, I don't think there's anybody that can go against me bar for bar, other than Mac. Yeah. Honestly. And
let's make it happen.
I think there's a lot of people that are really successful at building their brands and have great, showmanship and just, they got the whole package. And I got nothing but love for all these people. They're all my friends.
Yeah.
But I'm talking bar for bar. I don't think there's anybody that can do it on my level other than Mac. I think Mac is that guy.
Yeah.
But that's always been for me what gave me the ability to have a career was just the bars,
Yeah.
Like
sure.
when I might not have everything else that someone else has in terms of the whole package or whatever. Like, I was just trying to focus on the bars.
Bro, let's make it happen, man. Let's make it a thing.
Come on, let's do it. But yeah, man. No, I appreciate this conversation, dude. This is a good one, man. So you're training, you're boxing, you're building up this boxing brand, really.
Yeah.
On social media, where are you taking it?
Well, shout out to my bro Jeremiah Maestre because he's the one that kind of. So he's always been. He went to my high school, right? I want to talk.
This is your trainer?
Yeah, my trainer. I want to talk about him a little bit because he's leveled me up way higher than I thought I would ever, especially with this whole boxing era of influencers and just people that just putting content out about boxing. He went to my high school. He moved from my high school. And me and him we're really good friends. He was born in the Philippines as well. And at the high school I went to, there was not a lot of Filipinos and not a lot of like colored people, to be honest. We were kind of in that small group of people, and me and him like became close even when he moved, and I was like close with his family. And you know how high school works, you kind of just you branch out. And we've always followed each other on social media, and I saw that he became like a cage fighter, MMA fighter, like Muay Thai fighter. And with me just always wanting to be a fighter in a way of boxing, it was dope to see him level up, you know, throughout the years. And when I finally was like, all right, I want to start training again and do all these things, I hit him up. I was like, bro, like, I'm trying to train. Like, well, I seen you doing your thing. Let me know if we could, like, you know, I'll pay you. Like, let me know. He's like, bro, like, are you kidding me? Like, let's go. Forget all that. Like, your family, you know? And I was like, bro, that's so dope. So, like, I would drive out to Santa Ana where he lives and train in his little boxing gym in his garage. And he'll come out here, and he, like, introduced me to a whole family of boxers. And this has been happening for the past, like, few months now. And he's just... I've trained boxing before, but, bro, he's... in the small amount of time we've trained, my skill level has just gotten so high because of just his training and how he, like, you know, understands boxers so well because he was a boxer. And he'll, like, tell me, like, things on how to improve, but in the right way, not like, you know, it's hard to explain, but it's just, he just knows how to, he understands. And, like, and me being a person who's always, like, you know, learned from a coach, it just works well. And for him, like, to kind of be my trainer, I'm more inspired every day to invest into boxing, like getting my own gloves and, like, going running and going to the boxing gym at a certain time for however long consistently. You know, it's been dope.
What would you say is the best part about it? Is it the benefit to the mental, or, like, what are you loving about it?
Well, I mean, in personal reasons, you know all the things I go through. I don't really put it out there, but just with, like, family stuff and, like, deaths and stuff like that, it was weird. It's been happening, like, a lot. Yeah. And just getting into boxing and just doing, like, fitness and stuff like that, it's helped. It's been more of a therapy, and also just bettering myself in general, because I've always been wanting to stay fit, and we're all getting older. We're all, you know, it's harder to stay in a lifestyle like that as you get older, especially in the industry we're in. Just implementing that in my lifestyle and just having boxing and, like, all these things going on, it's really just leveled out for me, and mentally it's helped, mentally and physically.
Yeah, it's like that glue.
Yeah, and it just gives me a little purpose to, like, it makes me feel like I'm doing, you know how, like, when you play basketball, you had practice at a certain time, and then you had to get up early to do something. It's giving me that again. You know?
Well, when you're growing up playing sports, and then when you take it even to another level, college or professional level, you are consistently getting into that flow, where when I was in the middle of a high school basketball game, there was nothing else on your mind other than what is going to happen. And then as I got older, I was playing, you know, just recreationally at a somewhat high level, in terms of, like, I was playing 3 hours a day from, like, you know, 19 to, like, 23, and I'm still playing a little bit now. But, like, when you're playing or being active like that in a sport that requires your 100% attention, that's, like, a really therapeutic thing that we need. Because when I'm assuming when you're training, or when you're, you know, boxing or whatever, like, you don't have the ability to think about any of this outside stuff. You have to be in that flow, and that state of mind is, like, so necessary to get in.
Yeah.
Because we're constantly, when we're working and when we're managing different things, and, you know, you're someone who handles a lot in a lot of different ways, and has been through a lot in a lot of different ways too. And life is not fair like that, but it's about what you do to keep going, you know, that differentiates us between, you know, kind of going down one path or going down another. And so, no, it's just really inspiring to see that path. And like I was saying, with, like, your Instagrams and everything, like, you inspire a lot of people to get active because of that. Yeah. Because you're getting up, no matter what you might be going through, you're getting up and you're going and getting it in the gym.
Yeah. And like, our friend group, we're all goal orientated. So it's like doing this whole boxing thing, especially now with Jerry, he but it's just a challenge. It's a challenge. Like, there's days where I shit myself, like, I suck, or, like, I can't fucking breathe just because I'm, like, I feel like I'm out of shape. But it's like, that's the stuff that I love. Like I love like feeling like I'm not good at this, and then coming back and like killing it, and then the next day like suck at it. Like that's the stuff that's the things I like. I don't want to be a master at everything. Like, I mean, of course it's cool to be really good at one thing and like you know build something off of that. But me, it's just like, all right, what's the next thing I could do to improve? Yeah. And it's just with boxing right now, it's just that's what it is. Like, if I miss a day, it's like, all right, I gotta go for a 4-mile run and then like do shadow boxing for an hour just so I don't fall behind. And I love that because it's better than sitting around and like overthinking everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And feeling sorry for yourself. It's just, that's not me.
No, for sure. And when you choose to have a trainer too, now you're held accountable, right? Because like you're taking time out of his day to train you.
Yeah.
You got to stay on point. You know what I'm saying? And
he honestly, also, if you have a trainer that also motivates you, like with him, he has clients all day, right? He lives about an hour and a half away from LA. He'll drive early in the morning. He has a kid too, and a kid coming. Like he's gonna have 2 kids.
Wow.
And this man gets up early, bro. Does his East Coast classes like 4 in the morning. He has a little East Coast class that he does in the morning,
like over Zoom or whatever.
Yeah, because he was a trainer, and we should actually get him on this podcast
for sure.
He's.
I'd love to.
If you want to talk about motivational,
we can do 3 people, you, him, and me too.
Yeah, yeah. We got to get him on here because it'll be dope. But he gets up early. He has his online classes, and then he gets up and does his morning run and stuff like that. Takes his kid to school, and he drives from Santa Ana to the boxing gym and trains his clients. And he has a way to fit me in there. It's not like, oh, can you come at 9? Never mind, like come at 1. No, it's like come at this time.
And he's ready.
He's ready, and I'm like, bro, this is what I need. Like this is what everyone needs. Like something like this. Like you can't have like, you met people who are like just finicky about stuff. Like, right. Oh yeah, this.
Well, sometimes when people are kind of trying to hook you up, but they just don't have the time to do it or whatever. Yeah. Like it might be like you're coming up last in their head. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
But some people are just not like that, bro. Yeah. They're fucking organized and they got it. And like, and even though you're his boy, he's looking at you just like any other client, like this time, and let's do it.
Yeah. And also like I brought in Jordan in there. She's like getting into it super hard. Karl too. You got to get in there too. That's why I want him to come in here so you can meet him. He's really cool. Yeah, bro. It's just honestly, it's dope to have that, especially right now in my life. It's dope because it's helping me get better with every other thing I'm doing. And there's just a lot going on. A lot of doors are opening for that in that how do you say, in that avenue. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I'm trying to build my brand now,
right?
In a different way, because a lot of people really just used to look at my stuff and be like, oh, you're a photographer, like, and I probably haven't done a photo shoot in like years. Like, I've taken photos of Karl, like Jordan, like,
right.
Out in front
because
of
you have a camera.
Yeah, I have a camera, and like, or like,
right.
They have some sort of brand deal where they want to take photos.
Hey, let's get some photos.
Yeah, it's because we're all there, but
right.
I haven't like done like a setup like that.
You have always been the brand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like certain people are videographers, like they're creatives who want to be behind the camera. Yeah. I don't think you've ever been that. You're the guy. Like you were a star athlete. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand that like the video gave you a lot of opportunities. Yeah. But I to me, like just as your friend, like I've always seen you as like the forward-facing guy, and I think that's what's cool about what you're doing now is like you're building out that brand more and more, where it's like you're the dude in front of the camera, and people want to see that. I think people follow you because of the lifestyle that you represent and what motivates them to like get after it, not because you happen to be good at taking pictures and making videos.
Yeah. And I, in a sense, sometimes it is that way, but also I've a lot of my time, especially when I moved to LA, has been building. A lot of the time I've been in LA, it's building up other people, mm-hmm. and that not because it's my job. It's what I like to do. I like to build up other people because it makes me feel good. I'm I'm at my best when I'm influencing someone to do better, even better than me. Like when I see someone lower than me, it's like I'll come down and like try to bring you up with me, and that's just how I've always been, and that's what makes me who I am, and that gives me that purpose. And sometimes it kind of like hinders me from building my brand because I'm like not focusing on myself.
Yeah.
And maybe this past like year or two, that's what I've been doing. But with this boxing thing, I'm definitely just been focusing on myself. But also just even now, I'm trying to build up my boy who's training. He's, even though he knows a lot of people.
No, that's just in your nature.
Yeah, he's already in a different level in his own brand. But like, I'm trying to figure out ways how to, you know, because he's been helping me. So it's just like, that's just.
Well, I think you have a mind for that stuff, the branding and, you know, how to get people's vision out there.
Yeah.
You know, so I get that for sure. But I think to your point, being someone who can influence people in that positive way through your own personal brand and putting that stuff out there, that's a way to get a lot of people, you know, really motivated and making a meaningful change.
Yes, sir.
So now that's what's up, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, bro. We'll definitely have to do this again. Follow my guy Chuck at Chucky Anthony on Instagram. Where else you at, dude? Anywhere else? I'm a YouTuber, so I have one video. Oh, it's official.
From Cabo, like last year. You know, 10,000 views.
Right. There we go.
Because everyone posted it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was fun, man.
This was great, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir. We gotta do it again.
Yeah.
This should be Are you doing this consistently?
Yeah, I'm trying to do one every 2 weeks now.
Okay.
So, shit. You want to help me build this up? Let's get talking.
Let's talk, bro.
Yeah. It's your boy, Cam Meekins. It's the Cam Meekins Show. We out of here. Peace.